On this edition of the Law Firm Marketing Podcast, managing your online reputation with a great tool developed by Visibility. We talk to its CEO, James Alexander. Welcome to Law Firm Marketing Podcast. My name is Dan Toombs and it's good to be back with you after a few weeks of bringing literally the world's best law firm marketing experts together under the guise of the Law Firm Marketing Masters series of podcasts. And if you haven't subscribed to that podcast series, then I urgently encourage you to do so. It's completely free, and on top of your subscription to the podcast, you will gain access to the forthcoming magazine, Fast Firms. Head to www.lawfirmmarketingmasters.com. That is www.lawfirmmarketingmasters.com. Have you ever tried to Google yourself and the search results either didn't show you where you'd like to be, or there was content relating to the search that you'd prefer searchers not to see? It might be just that you'd like a little more control over those search results. James Alexander, a guy who has been involved in a succession of very smart startups, including stints with Adobe and other big brands, asked himself this same question, and he has well and truly answered it with his new gig, Visibility, a very special tool that law firms particularly are very excited about. In my chat with James, I began the conversation by asking him, why Visibility?
That's sort of a real broad question, but I think the short answer in my particular case is that I get easily frustrated. And so when I discover something that is a problem, I being a gearhead, I figure out that there are ways to solve those problems. And if I have those problems, probably other people do too. So in the case of Visibility, which is my current startup, the problem I was having back in 2009 is that I couldn't find myself online. I'm a guy with two first names, James Alexander, and when you Google me, you'd find tens of millions of search results, and I wasn't on any of the pages you were going to be looking at, which is pretty much the first two or three. And it just felt like, we're Google society today. We Google everything before we hire it, buy it, try it, or date it. And if I was having this problem, probably tens of millions of other professionals were having this problem too.
No, I agree. And I think what's really interesting about Visibility, which we're going to talk about a little bit later in the course of the conversation, but it's cutting edge stuff insofar as that you've identified a real problem.
Well, it's interesting. I think that in most cases it kind of breaks down into a couple buckets, and it's been studied a lot, in the last couple of years, and we've really tried to find ways to make it accessible so people understand this problem. And so last year, for instance, we went up to LinkedIn, and we discovered that there are more than 2,000 people on LinkedIn who have the same name as somebody in the FBI's 10 most wanted list here in the United States. It's a funny stat, but it makes the point that that mistaken identity is a real problem. I think the number of people who have bad stuff online is actually very low. It's probably negligible. The real challenge are for people who have great stuff online but just can't get people to find it, which was my problem. And so there's an interesting statistic. We do something in our system as well with Visibility where we can actually figure out what your organic visibility is in Google. And so we got a neat little trick that helps us reveal that. And across now tens of thousands of users using Visibility, it looks like the average organic visibility, in other words, the search results that come up that you want to come up when somebody types in just your name, your first and last name, the average organic visibility Google is 12%. So what that means is that on a page of search results for the average person, only one result is actually about that particular person.
Wow. In the terms of the legal fraternity, we're seeing that online is having a major impact on lead generation and client acquisition. And I think you did some research, James, with Larry Bodine, which is really on point in that 78% of business decision makers are searching for lawyers online and 65% of consumers are searching online. it's really significant, isn't it? I mean, there's lots of people out there trying to find attorneys who are using Google as the primary search tool.
That was a great study. We just concluded it back in December, and some of the stats you cited, there are. It's in the community of legal buyers, for instance. The BTI group did a survey that we included some of the data in an infographic that we produced, and basically they indicated that of legal buyers, 1 out of every 2 legal buyers would be less inclined to hire an attorney that they couldn't easily validate credentials online or learn more about them. And so being visible is really important, or being easily found is really important. And I think there's a direct economic impact to those who aren't taking those steps. And on the consumer side, we as part of the survey, we went up to LinkedIn and because LinkedIn, of course, has tremendous credibility with buyers of legal services.
Sure.
And we looked at how many lawyers have LinkedIn profiles, because we wanted to see if the self-reported number was really right. And because self-reported, it's about 2/3 of attorneys in the United States claim to be using LinkedIn.
Yeah.
So we looked on LinkedIn for the titles lawyer, attorney, and counsel as a current title, and there are less than a third of attorneys in the United States. So less than 400,000 attorneys in North America have one of those titles in their in their LinkedIn profile. So it looks like actual usage of LinkedIn is much less than what it's being reported. But the other thing is that consumers, when they're going into Google, they're searching the word lawyer by almost 40% of searches among those 3 terms: lawyer, counsel, and attorney. Yeah. So lawyer is the word that's being used. However, titles in LinkedIn, only 4% of lawyers are using the word lawyer in their title. So even from a standpoint of lawyers who are using LinkedIn, they're not using the right keywords. Yeah. They're going to get them to come up in search results when consumers are going and Googling the word lawyer looking for an attorney.
Yeah, it's a really interesting point. And what fascinates me about the whole space, and particularly where it's going, is we're starting to see a paradigm shift, aren't we, where law firms are being somewhat democratized insofar as less and less searchers or people are looking for, Brown and Smith lawyers. It's more about James Smith, the lawyer, as opposed to the firm. Is that something that you've seen in your research?
Well, I think the firm is a brand. And I think it serves a purpose for a buyer. There's the old adage: you always hire the attorney before you hire the firm, and I guess that's always been there. But there's value in firms, and I think in having an understanding of what a firm specializes in, and knowing kind of what how deep a bench is. But I think what you're seeing is that there's where the firm as an organization was a direct brand on the individual attorneys, which was important. Now, because so much information is available online, the democratization is really the information and less of the attorneys. And so it's much easier to learn about how an attorney thinks, how they approach a project, what their level of expertise is compared to their peers. And so because so much of that is easy to self-discover by buyers, I think that's really kind of maybe what you're getting at, which is that it may be less about whether you're a firm or independent, but the point is there's a tremendous opportunity here for professionals, these legal professionals.